What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video, and today I can finally give you my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Stargirl. This review isn't going to go into spoilers, don't worry about that. I can't even do that anyway. This is just like an overall review of those first 3 episodes. I can't go into full detailed spoiler breakdown mode, if you know what I mean, until it officially airs on May 18th on DC Universe and May 19th on the CW. So this review will just give you a good sense of what I thought of those first 3 episodes. If I think you guys will enjoy it, because, you know, I feel like I know my audience and like you guys know what shows I review and what I have a preference for and stuff like that. So I think you guys will find it handy in that way. And just overall what Stargirl feels like as the latest edition of a DC show. So everyone, sit back, relax. It's going to be like a little bit of a long video because I want to go into quite a bit of detail about how I feel about Stargirl in general. But if you go ahead and like this video, go ahead and like it. It really does show support for the channel. It really helps me out. But let's get into this because let's just say I've been quite excited to talk about it, and that may give a little bit of a spoiler for what I think about the show. So Stargirl, coming from DC Universe and now the CW, is a show that I have been anticipating watching for quite a long time. I mean, literally ever since we heard about it coming to DC Universe all of that time ago. However, even back then, I knew it wouldn't be as much of an adult and mature themed show to the likes of like Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, and even Titans that we've previously seen from DC Universe, which definitely had me intrigued because if you know me, of what I have a preference for on this channel, it's usually the more mature themed superhero shows versus that of the more teenage oriented kind we get from the CW. Not that I'm saying I dislike shows like The Flash. I mean, you guys know me. I literally review The Flash. I enjoy The Flash. I just usually prefer a bit more of that edgier twist that we can get when it comes to what shows like Doom Patrol and Titans has given us, because if you guys have watched Doom Patrol and Titans, you know it's definitely a lot more of a dial up notch from that of your typical CW show. They're usually allowed to do quite a bit more with their material, and it makes me a lot more engaged, so I was definitely fascinated to see what the quality of Stargirl, created by DC Universe, would bring with a much more wider audience target in mind. And I have to say, I really like it. Now, this first part of the review is to kind of just address what some of you may already be thinking out there, and I wanted to talk about this first briefly because I've read quite a few comments about this on my previous Stargirl videos from breaking down the trailers, in that some fans are apprehensive in a similar sense that it might not be their kind of show due to the vibe that those trailers of Stargirl has given off. And that is being that it obviously centers around Courtney Whitmore, who is 15 in the show, and she's a high schooler, and she takes up the mantle of Starman as Stargirl, in where she wields the cosmic staff and goes about seeking justice for the fall of the Justice Society of America in the form of stopping the Injustice Society. So let me just say this, take it from me, from a guy who usually prefers the more serious vibes and mature blend of comic book shows. Stargirl's first 3 episodes give off a very well-spirited, light-hearted, and adventurous superhero journey that really at the same time distinguishes itself from anything else we have out there in a similar vein of comic book show, and for me that worked very well, and I think that it will as well for all types of fans, no matter what the preference you have for your comic book shows. It just came across really charming and kind of made me feel honestly like a bit of a kid again, following the feel-good attitude of this show as you're taking off on this feel-good ride with what the show has to offer. And Jeff Johns actually recently spoke about the feel of this show, and I really couldn't agree more in how he describes the series as very similar in tone to movies like E.T. and Back to the Future. And also, this may not apply to everyone, but there will probably be, through probability, a lot of fans watching this video who can always enjoy rewatching the fun ride that is Back to the Future and E.T., no matter if you have a more stronger desire for more serious themed movies. And that's a similar way, I guess, through this kind of weird analogy I have in how I feel about Stargirl. It's definitely got a unique spark here, and so far I'm just rooting for it all the way. Now, this can be felt not only through the way the story is explored through the very keen-spirited Courtney Whitmore, discovering her identity as Stargirl each episode, and the show's other very complimentary characters such as Pat Dukan, who I'm sure fans will love the relationship that develops between the two as she discovers what it means to be a hero as he guides her through it, but also in the way the music themes in the show just go hand in hand with enhancing the tone of this show. Honestly though, I just really love the themes in this show and how they're placed in the various scenes so well. I mean, music, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other people's opinions, really add to the character and identity of a show. And if you get that wrong, then usually it can really dampen the quality and is just overall to the detriment of a show. But I'm more than happy to say that this just elevates the show to great levels. And of course, you may be thinking that there are Arrowverse shows out there, whether that's Supergirl or Black Lightning, I don't know, or just any Arrowverse show, take your pick, that have a light-hearted vibe to it. But that's the thing about Stargirl, as I said, with the built-in quality that DC Universe provided with originally creating this show, then it, went to the CW after they first made it, it knocks up the quality of that of your typical CW Arrowverse show, with respect to the production, the storytelling, even the first 3 episodes provided. Now, as usual with shows that come from DC Universe, at least from the first 3 episodes that I've seen, none of what I watched remotely felt like filler. Not that all filler is bad, but my point here is that it feels very good to say in this review that all of the first 3 episodes just maintain a very strong start for the show, with a continuous approach to the quality story that just pushes forward the main plot at almost every turn. Every scene and every moment feels relevant and cohesive, and as a result of that, everything just keeps you engaged. Now, obviously here, as I mentioned right at the beginning, I can't go into, in detailed breakdown spoilers of the first 3 episodes, but the first episode does a good job at diving you into the world that surrounds the former Justice Society of America, as well as introducing the main premise of what happened between them and the Injustice Society. Now, it slowly but surely sinks you into the world of Stargirl in Blue Valley, Nebraska, as you digest the story just as much as the main character Courtney Whitmore is discovering her story as she moves into this new town and life that sets her down upon this heroic path. And the show doesn't really ever leave you feeling confused as to who is who. In fact, it actually goes quite out of its way to initially and very obviously point out which character is which, and you'll see what I mean when you watch that first episode, and just overall what general direction things are heading in. But what about Brec Bassinger's Stargirl herself? Now, I really do feel that she did a good job. From the first 3 episodes, I'm just liking the character, and I'm honestly really along for the ride and this journey that she's going on. Obviously, shows are just hard to watch if you don't really like the main character for whatever reason you may have. You just may feel like the character might not engulf the comic book character, you might not like the acting, you might have a preference for a different actor, but whatever reason that may be, Brec really personifies the character that is Stargirl, and does so in a way that just keeps you rooting for the character and just her in general in each and every episode, and I'm really happy to say that. Now, this does lead me to talk about the fact that this show is obviously surrounding Courtney Whitmore as a 15-year-old high schooler who is forming the new Justice Society of America, which, if you couldn't obviously tell already, consists of that younger generation vibe, which, as all of you probably already know from the kind of vibe from the trailer in general, as what I mentioned earlier. But once again though, seriously, don't let that put you off. Now, as I kind of touched upon earlier, I really do totally understand that apprehension of a show like that for some fans going in. For example, some fans have voiced concerns of that typical high school-esque drama of shows that depict similar age characters in high school, but this show, at least for the first 3 episodes, does not focus on any of that. It's really just a deep dive into the superhero discovery with pretty little emphasis on Courtney's high school life. I mean, just don't worry guys, this isn't Riverdale with a cosmic staff. Now, what about the villains? Well, I'm happy to say that the villains in this show and the actors behind them are very strong. And from what all of you can already gather from what the trailers have shown you, the core members we're dealing with are Icicle, Sportsmaster, Brainwave, Tigress, even Solomon Grundy, but yet again, without going into spoilers, there are various other interesting villainous characters which you haven't seen in those trailers of who you will be seeing and also even referred to. And this is another beauty that the show has, and that is its references to the larger lore of this era of heroes and villains that come from the JSA and Injustice Society. And I know, just like me, a lot of you will be loving this. Because as fans of DC Comics and its characters, and considering the foundation of this show is about seeking justice for the Justice Society of America, how many times am I going to say that? I'm sure all of you will just love the references and teasers you'll get, and those honestly range range from those of The Flash, Dr. Fate, Green Lantern, and more, and that's just from the first 3 episodes that I've seen. I just can't wait to see what this show has in store from where it can go in terms of those little golden nuggets of teasers that the show has up its sleeve. And as for how the 3rd episode ends, well, honestly, I'm just quite frustrated that I can't see the 4th episode until it officially airs, because, you know, the press screeners only went up to episode 3, and when you guys see it, May 18th or 19th, you know, I've got to wait each week until it gets up to episode 4, and honestly, with the way episode 3 ends, that's pretty frustrating because it really does leave off with you wanting to see more. But that reminds me, some shows on DC Universe have felt as though they shouldn't be a weekly release and should rather be binged, and if you're concerned about that, don't be, I guess. I mean, the pacing of this particular show, despite me seeing all 3 episodes at once, still does feel as though you can wait a week until that next episode airs. Now, as for the effects on this show, I'm sure some of you are wondering about, and from what you could probably tell from the trailers, they're pretty decent. Once again, to compare it to that of your typical CW show, and I keep comparing it to that because it's pretty much the most relevant, and from what a lot of you already watch, it definitely goes up a notch or two, and I would say that it's quite on par with the other DC Universe shows. I mean, I would say it looks quite a bit better than what Titans has given us recently in season 2, but then again, it more or less keeps up with the standard that Doom Patrol has set with the vast amount of CGI that was in Doom Patrol season 1. Now, the cosmic staff looks absolutely beautiful as it glows with its energy, and I love the charming aspect it brings to the show, and I keep saying charming, but really, this show just is. I think that's the one word I can use to define this show with how it comes across to any audience. The staff has its own little personality and quirkiness that is entertaining to watch. Stripe looks pretty decent and more than acceptable considering we've got literally a massive Iron Giant on the screen. I mean, I don't know if it reminded anyone else of the Iron Giant. And in daylight scenes too, and usually that's not the safe route to go with CGI, especially on TV shows, especially with such a prominent robot, that they've done a good job. Now, I do have to mention from this show and from what I've seen in those first 3 episodes, it does look past some things and moments for the sake of convenience, and I'm mentioning this just because I know it's not really fair for me to mention it about other shows and not with this show, and those moments may have some people thinking like, but how can she do that if she's had no training, or just somewhat this natural like ability for Stargirl to be somewhat heroically pretty competent, or should I just say lucky at things. Now, all while the cosmic staff definitely lends this assistance to Courtney Whitmore and her ability to even fight despite her gymnastic ability. As I said, there's a few moments where it feels a bit like, oh, well, that's very convenient, you know, and I'm not comparing it to Cicada, like flying away in The Flash season 5, but you know what I mean, it's things along that vein. And while I feel like if there's any show that I could look past those aspects, you know, for me, it would be this one. Now, I know a lot of fans don't mind moments like this, for example, in CW shows, because it can be viewed as too nitpicky if you point it out, or if it just kind of dampens the show for you, and I agree with that to some extent on things, because sometimes you do have to let go of some things, otherwise how can you enjoy the ride that is the actual show? I mean, I completely get how some people, when watching a lot of shows, just don't mind anything like that. And I think I've come to learn, as with all of these shows, just any kind of superhero show, that sometimes there are just stupid moments that come across as very transparently nonsensical and shouldn't really be there, or just so unbelievable to a point of where it actually comes across really off-putting because, you know, it's quite a flaw or a plot hole in the writing. I mean, I get it, you can drop some things, but sometimes it really is quite a problem from a critical standpoint, that is. But when there's a show like this, when it kind of really focuses on that light-hearted, adventurous vibe, it's kind of you go along with the ride and don't nearly mind it as much in this. And I really do feel like that goes hand in hand with the unique package of what Stargirl is, and what I mentioned earlier to what those tones you can compare this series to with E.T. and Back to the Future vibes. It conducts itself in such a way that you don't really nearly let those things irk you as much as it does on other shows. And I feel like if I haven't explained that well enough, you kind of have to watch it to see it or understand it. Ultimately though, guys, in conclusion to this review, I think Stargirl is achieving exactly what it set out to do, and that is bringing to life a show which truly reflects the nature and tone of the main character that is Stargirl. And as I've said in this review too many times by now, but I just feel like it highlights what this show really is, and how it's lighthearted, at its core heroic, charming and great addition to DC's superhero show lineup. It really does just nail it. And honestly, I was about to say, while not every show is for everyone, but the thing is, while that may be true in a lot of cases, if you're into DC Comics and you're into the JSA heroes, the Injustice Society villains, and just comic book shows in general, I would say that the whole, you may not be into this show or this, not every show may be for you thing is not true, because I feel like this show bypasses that for all fans and adds an exception onto any preferences you may have going in, or for whatever reason you may have doubted. And it just, as a result, charms its way into unlocking your inner kid as you grow continuous excitement episode by episode for what this show has to offer. I just feel like Stargirl in its first 3 episodes have personified what DC's Stargirl is, and that is a recipe for success, and I would honestly be surprised if this isn't quite a big success all round, especially that it's now reaching a much wider audience on the CW and not just DC Universe. I think you guys will honestly like it. I really hope you do, because it's a good one, and it would be a shame for anyone to not experience the great heroic journey that it provides. And one last thing that I totally forgot to mention is that the first couple of episodes are like 53 minutes, 54 minutes, and the second episode is like 44 minutes, I believe, which is around about closer to a CW episode. I can't tell you how long the future episodes are, if they're also 50 something minutes, but as a result of the CW network slots, we usually only get 42 minutes without ads, if you look at it that way. So there will be some time cut out of those episodes, and you'll be able to watch around 10 to 12 minutes of extra content on DC Universe, which I would recommend doing. But then again, not every single episode might be that 53 minutes long. It might be actually around the third episode's length, which is around 44. So just keep that in mind. But that is my review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a bit of a long one, and it was a bit wordy, but either way, I hope that gave you a good essence and vibe of this show without me going into mega spoiler territory. So let me know what you thought about this review, guys. If you want to support the channel, do so by leaving a like. It really does help me out, and subscribe for more videos like this. But that is absolutely everything, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.